Greetings, my dear viewer. You're on the channel The Price of Cheating. The channel is for those who appreciate traditional family values and condemn adultery. So be sure to subscribe to the channel. Let's get started. When I walked out of the hospital, everything around me seemed like a whirlwind. A simple DNA test had completely changed my life. I couldn't bring myself to go home. I needed time to think. So I headed to the nearest bar and ordered a large whiskey. At that moment, I desperately needed that drink. The bar was quiet, and I was able to take my drink to a corner table and start sorting through my thoughts. The life I had imagined seemed to have vanished. I'm not one to procrastinate, but I knew I needed to carefully consider my next steps before going home. By the way, my name is Jack. At 42, I've been married to Sarah for 19 years. Sarah, who is a year younger than me, and I have two wonderful daughters, 11-year-old Brittany and 8-year-old Sylvia. Just 2 hours ago, our life was ordinary, maybe a bit predictable, but filled with love and cherished moments. But now everything had changed drastically. I couldn't bear the thought of losing my girls, but if it came to that, I believed that in the long run, my plan would ultimately be better for them. Instead of enduring a turbulent marriage full of bitterness and distrust, it might be wiser to end it and start fresh. When I got home, Sarah's car was already in the driveway. The kids, as expected, weren't home, which allowed me to talk to my wife immediately. I'm not good at hiding my emotions, but I managed to conceal them and even smiled. Sarah was in the kitchen when I returned from work. As a school principal and an accountant, we followed a regular schedule and shared household duties. It was her turn to cook dinner, and she barely acknowledged me when I kissed her on the cheek. I lingered for a moment, looking at her. She was just as beautiful as the day we met, though a bit fuller, as we all are with the years. After a brief hustle, she finally put the dinner in the oven and turned to face me at the dining table. Her striking green eyes and blonde hair never ceased to captivate me. Standing at about 6 feet tall and weighing 180 pounds, I'm often considered handsome, and Sarah had always been exceptionally attractive. When she looked at me, she raised her eyebrows, her expression curious in response to my smile. Was there something cute or amusing about her? I stood up and hugged her shoulders. As I looked down at her, it dawned on me that my height and appearance might have been part of the reason she welcomed me into her life. Our embrace was soon followed by a gentle, exploratory kiss, which quickly turned passionate. I pulled back briefly, confessing, "I love you so much, it hurts," and then dove back into the kiss. Sarah melted into me, her body responding beautifully to my touch. Eventually, she broke the kiss and looked at me with a hint of curiosity. "What's going on? I'm not complaining, but the kids will be back soon, so maybe we should slow down a bit." I smiled. "It's hard for you to cool down, sweetheart. The kids won't be back for another half hour, and right now, all I want is you." "Wow, that was quick. What's gotten into you?" Now, for the big news. I need to share something interesting. You know how much I adore our girls, but I've always dreamed of having a son. "Really?" she responded, looking puzzled. "I'm going to be the father of a boy in 5 months if everything goes well," I said, trying to keep the smile on my face. Sarah was stunned. "What? I don't understand. What do you mean a boy? I'm not pregnant." "Not with you, but I'm going to be a father if everything goes smoothly," I explained. Her slap was quick and stung more than I expected. "But darling, I love you. It was just a mistake," I pleaded. "It was just a physical encounter." I tried to explain it to her, but my words went unheard. Over the next few hours, Sarah went through a whirlwind of emotions, from heartbreak over the betrayal to fury and anger. The girls were immediately sent to their room while Sarah unleashed her disappointment and rage. In the end, I packed my suitcase and left, never looking back. Last week, I received the divorce papers. The grounds listed were infidelity, which carries significant weight in our state. I was only allowed a few hours of visitation with the girls each week. During this time, I received numerous calls from Sarah as she needed to express her feelings. She was in deep pain and suffering greatly. I was never able to answer her constant question, "Why did you do this to me, to us?" Every time I pleaded with her to move on and return to our previous relationship, She responded with a wall of anger and complete refusal. I knew I had behaved like a worthless person, and she was determined to make me pay for it. 4 months later, we finally found ourselves in court. My attorney challenged the unequal division of assets she proposed and the child custody terms she suggested. The judge began to explore hidden motives and asked if I was contesting the accusation of infidelity. When I mentioned that I was not contesting the claim of infidelity, my attorney remained completely composed. Moreover, I was prepared to present evidence supporting it. Both the opposing counsel and the judge looked stunned. The judge asked, "Do you understand that the plaintiff has presented no evidence regarding your infidelity? Even if I were to rule for divorce based on allegations of infidelity, it would significantly impact my decision. The 50-50 division of assets you requested would be impossible," he explained. "May I approach the bench, Your Honor?" my attorney asked. The two attorneys moved closer to the judge. Sarah's attorney looked pleased with this turn of events, but I noticed his smile fade when my attorney presented medical DNA evidence indicating Sarah's long-term infidelity. I could see the judge was furious. In a moment, he gestured for both attorneys to step aside. I understood the situation, but Sarah looked completely bewildered. Her attorney leaned over and whispered something to her, causing her face to turn pale. She turned to me, her expression full of disbelief. The judge spoke, stating that this was an unexpected turn of events and that he was deeply concerned that the court had been misled. However, he acknowledged that divorce proceedings often serve as a means for one spouse to seek revenge on the other. Then he looked directly at me and warned, "You have engaged in a dangerous game of perjury, and if not for this recent revelation, it could have had serious consequences for you. Would you please take a moment to clarify the situation?" "Your Honor, upon discovering through DNA analysis that neither of my two children is biologically mine and that they share the same father, I realized that my wife had been unfaithful for many years. I admitted that I wanted her to feel the pain and emotional anguish that her actions had caused me. I said that now she could find solace in the fact that the emotions she had experienced over the past few months mirrored my own, even if her feelings were not based on the truth. Furthermore, I must note that all my attempts to retract my confession were entirely rejected by her. At the very least, I didn't hide the truth, as she had done for the past 12 years. I deeply love our two daughters and hoped that she would accept my offer to leave the past behind. I was willing to try to forgive her for the sake of our children. She had multiple opportunities over 4 months to prevent this situation and save our marriage. However, she did not. All the assets were divided equally, and the judge also decided to split custody of our two daughters. A few months later, after identifying the father, I won a lawsuit against Sarah's employer, who awarded me over $300,000 in child support and other expenses, thanks to the DNA evidence proving he was the father. With the testimony of some of Sarah's colleagues and superiors who were aware of her long-term affair with her boss, my attorney filed a larger suit against their company. Finally, after deducting legal fees, we reached a settlement of around $500,000. Honestly, I love both girls very much and want them to remain an important part of my life going forward. This concludes the story. If you like it, then put your powerful like and subscribe to the channel. Greetings, my dear viewer. You're on the channel The Price of Cheating. The channel is for those who appreciate traditional family values and condemn adultery. So be sure to subscribe to the channel. Let's get started. The Radisson Hotel attracted me with its spacious lobby, which reminded me of the elegant hotels featured in classic films. My sons, Bradley and Terry, and I stood aside, eagerly awaiting my wife, Lauren, to join us for our Wednesday afternoon outing. We had been looking forward to this day for weeks, anticipating how it would unfold. In just a week, Lauren and I will be celebrating our silver wedding anniversary. We married young and started a family early. Our sons are now attending university on scholarships. Despite living in Reading, we rarely make it to downtown Philadelphia. This was my first time visiting and staying at the Radisson Hotel. For the past 10 years, I've worked in the legal department of an accounting firm in Reading, with weekly meetings with a major elder care contractor in Harrisburg. This meeting was one of those rare ones that never gets canceled or rescheduled. Perhaps that's why Lauren chose Wednesday for her weekly trip to the Radisson. The journey from Reading to downtown Philadelphia can take up to 2 hours, especially in heavy traffic, so it certainly must have meant a lot to her. About 2 months ago, I began to feel that something was off. It started with small details that caught my attention. The company had hired an investigator who was willing to take on some surveillance work in addition to his usual assignments. Although it wasn't cheap, I was willing to pay. It didn't take him long to find out that Lauren had been driving to Philadelphia on Wednesday mornings to meet with a family friend, Kyle Standish, at the Radisson Hotel. Often, Lauren would visit the gift shop and wait for Kyle to arrive. When he showed up, he would check into a room and head to the payphone in the lobby. Before taking the elevator to the 5th floor, he would leave a small envelope under the phone. Lauren would then leave the gift shop, retrieve the envelope with the room key, and follow him upstairs. They would spend about 3 hours together before parting ways. Kyle used to work at our company, and we interacted with him and his wife Beth at various company events, even keeping in touch after his transfer to the Montgomery County office. But we hadn't seen each other for years. Recently, Bradley and Terry attended a job fair at the Radisson Hotel and spotted Kyle stepping out of a new red Mercedes. Just as they were about to greet him, Terry noticed Lauren in the gift shop. The boys stopped and stared at her in confusion. They couldn't understand why their mother was in the hotel gift shop so far from home, especially in the middle of the week. It didn't immediately occur to them what was going on. About 2 weeks ago, they approached me hesitantly one evening when Lauren was visiting her sister. That's when I learned about their trip to the Radisson. "Dad, if you knew what was going on, why didn't you take action?" Terry asked. I replied, "I only found out recently. I don't know what to do. I love your mother, and the thought of life without her terrifies me. I wish this situation had never arisen, or at least that I could remain ignorant of it. But now that I know, I can't just ignore it. Any ideas?" "I know someone who could take care of Kyle for $500. "That's too bold, Bradley. Let's consider less drastic options. I'm planning to reach out to Beth to see if she has any insights. I think she might have something to offer." "We're not too busy on Wednesday, so we can help out if you decide on a plan of action." I'm deeply touched by how my sons have rallied around me. I know they care deeply for their mother, and this situation is undoubtedly difficult for them as well. 2 days later, I met with Beth. She had sensed that something was wrong but wasn't sure what exactly. Beth had caught Kyle in similar situations with other women before, despite his promises to behave. Given her knowledge of his infidelity, she was ready to file for divorce. She asked if I could hold off on any actions until she prepared the paperwork. Choosing a date wasn't difficult, which brings us to today. Lauren arrived at the hotel lobby right on time and headed to the gift shop. She looked stunning, though slightly nervous, as if she was genuinely making an effort for their weekly rendezvous, which tugged at my heart a little. "Hey, everyone! Were you waiting for me?" Beth quietly approached me from behind. "Lauren just arrived and is in the gift shop. If all goes according to plan, Kyle should be here any minute now." In the shop, Lauren flipped through magazines, occasionally glancing toward the lobby, clearly looking for her partner. It wasn't long before Kyle walked past the gift shop and headed to the desk. I noticed Lauren's face light up when she saw him. Moments later, Kyle stepped away from the counter, stopped by the payphone, and then took the elevator up. As soon as the elevator doors closed, Terry entered the gift shop. He greeted his mother with a warm smile and open arms. Lauren appeared concerned. Wrapping his arm around her waist, he managed to distract her from the lobby. Meanwhile, Beth quickly grabbed the keycard Kyle had hidden and took the elevator. He always showered before their intimate encounters, so Beth decided to wait in the corridor until she was sure he was occupied. Meanwhile, Bradley and I made our way to meet Terry and Lauren. "What a delightful surprise. I'm so glad to see you here, Lauren. How about joining us for lunch with the boys?" "John, what are you doing here? I thought you were supposed to be in Harrisburg." "The meeting was canceled today, so I decided to join the boys for lunch. I called you at home to invite you, but you weren't there. Now I understand why." "Why are you here?" Lauren was clearly flustered. "We're meeting Marcia Phillips for lunch. Remember her, John? We went to elementary school together." It seemed she didn't notice that the boys were exchanging amused glances as she tried to come up with some unconvincing excuse. "It's all right, Lauren. We'll book the table for 5, and she can join us then." Reluctantly, Lauren came with us to the restaurant. It was clear that she had no choice in the matter. No sooner had we sat down than she pulled out her mobile phone. "I need to call Marcia and let her know the plans have changed." "Put the phone away, dear," I said. "The place isn't that big. I doubt she'll have trouble finding us." I didn't want my wife calling Kyle while Beth was busy. Lauren seemed a bit anxious as we sat there. The boys were behaving somewhat submissively, but she didn't seem to notice. Lauren placed her phone on the table next to the silverware, which was unusual since she usually kept it in her bag on the floor beside her chair. The waiter took our drink orders, and we all fell silent, studying the menu. I couldn't help but frown when I noticed the smirks they were exchanging among themselves. "Shall we wait for Marcia, Lauren, or let her order when she arrives?" I suggested ordering now, since Marcia didn't seem sure she would make it for dinner. There was a chance she wouldn't come at all. I thought that if that happened, I could still get some shopping done. Poor Lauren was caught in a web of lies, desperately trying to maintain her image. Of course, I felt sorry for her, but I also knew she had brought this trouble upon herself. The waiter soon returned with our drinks and took our orders. Lauren only ordered a fruit salad. Barely 5 minutes passed when Beth approached the table with her arms full of Kyle's clothes and shoes. "Hello, Beth. How did it go?" "Thanks, John. It went very well. My dear husband was in the shower, as we expected, and didn't even notice my presence. I left the divorce papers for him on the dresser, and at the last minute, decided to grab his clothes as well." It was obvious that Lauren was shaken. The color drained from her face, and her eyes became glassy. Lauren looked at me and Beth, clearly not knowing what to do. "Here's the key, Lauren. I'm grateful you lent it to me, but I won't need it anymore." Carefully placing the key card next to Lauren's phone, Beth pulled it out of her pocket. Lauren's eyes widened in disbelief, and she stared at it, mouth agape. Just then, her mobile phone rang. She glanced at the caller ID, decided not to answer, and quickly turned off the phone, placing it back down. "Here you go, guys. The Mercedes is yours for a week. It's registered in my name, so don't worry. When you're done having fun, just leave it at home." Smiling, she handed the keys to Bradley. "Thanks, everyone, for your help, but I have to go. Enjoy your meal." Lauren gave me a pleading look, but I remained silent. She didn't even notice the guys standing nearby. After the waiter brought the food, Lauren excused herself and headed to the ladies' room. We finished our meals, but Lauren didn't return to the table, so I asked Terry to check the restrooms and sent Bradley to Kyle's room. As she left, Lauren forgot her keycard, mobile phone, and purse on the table. 10 minutes later, both Terry and Bradley returned empty-handed. Bradley said the hotel had given Kyle a tracksuit while they worked on getting him home. Terry, after checking the restrooms in both the restaurant and the hotel lobby, found nothing. I asked the restaurant manager to contact hotel security for assistance. There were no signs of illegal activity, and while security was willing to help, the only thing they found was a surveillance camera recording showing Lauren entering the kitchen, not the ladies' room. The other cameras didn't show anything. For safety reasons, they contacted the Philadelphia police. It wasn't possible to officially report Lauren as missing, but we were allowed to file an incident report for possible future use. After waiting a few more hours, we decided to head home, hoping she would return. Her wallet, containing credit cards, her driver's license, and some cash, remained on the table. Lauren wasn't at home either. 3 years have passed since our lunch at Radis. Since then, Terry has become an Air Force lieutenant, and Bradley is attending graduate school in California. Beth and Kyle's marriage has been dissolved, and we've lost all contact with Lauren. After the mandatory waiting period, I reported her missing to the Philadelphia police, but they came up empty-handed. Legally, I'm still married, and eventually, I'll have to take steps to change that. For now, I live alone in a large house, surrounded by all of Lauren's belongings, just as she left them. I've started seeing a wonderful and kind woman who makes me happy, while the ungrateful woman I spent 25 years with is on the run, feeling nothing but shame. This concludes the story. If you like it, then put your powerful like and subscribe to the channel.